This marking period, we're going to be learning how to throw a vase on the wheel. We start off the process of throwing a vase on the wheel, just like everything else, with a centered piece of clay. You're going to be throwing a couple of different vases in a few different sizes. So depending on the size vase that you're throwing, it's going to depend on the amount of clay that you have. I have a good amount of clay here, so my vase is going to be relatively large. So what I'm going to be doing is having my centered piece of clay. I'm going to start my wheel, and I'm going to start off just by throwing a cylinder to get started. Cylinder is going to be my basic form that I'll be able to work with. I'm going to leave my base relatively narrow. I'm not going to open this too wide. The reason is I don't want a big, wide, fat vase. I want a tall, lean vase. So I'm not going to open it any wider than this, which is probably around 2 inches in diameter max. If you want it to be even leaner, then I would only go 1 inch. This is also going to help you get a little more height. My clay is a little bit soft today, so it might be a little challenging to work with. My goal is to have nice even wall thickness to begin, because I am going to be forming this into the vase shape. Okay. So now that I have my cylinder, I'm going to be able to start my form. Now when I'm looking at my cylinder, I'm going to be dividing this up into thirds. So I have my bottom third, my middle third, and then my upper third. My bottom third is going to be your base. Your middle third is going to be the widest point of your vase. And then your upper third is going to be your neck and your lip. Vases traditionally pop out and then come in and then flare out again. You never want your lip to be as wide as the body of your piece, so your lip should be a bit more narrow. So my job right now is to start to form my piece by pushing my piece out. So I'm going to put some water on my clay. I'm going to put my left hand inside the clay. My right hand out here is kind of just going along for the ride. It's not applying much pressure. It's just hanging out, so that's why I have my sponge on it. So starting with the bottom third of my piece, right about here, I'm going to start to press the clay outward. And I'm pressing just with my fingers, pushing towards the 3 o'clock position, and I'm going to be pressing and pulling up at the same time. So I'm going to start to press. It's going to start to pop outward. As I'm pressing, I'm moving my hand up the side wall of the clay to my middle third. Once I hit my middle third, remember my middle third is going to be the widest part of my body. That's going to be the widest part of my vase. So I'm going to let that pop out. Stop, check your profile, see if you like it. Looks like I need to kind of widen the bottom a little bit more to make it somewhat more even. There we go. Okay, so check that again. Looks pretty good to me. So now at this point, I want to make my neck a bit more narrow. My neck got a little wide. That was from when I threw my cylinder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my neck, and I'm actually going to put my hands together, elbows in tight, and I'm going to lightly just choke the top of the neck and move my hands upward. So I'm kind of collaring and choking gently my piece. When you do this, you make your clay thicker. So this part is now thicker, so I need to pull this up and make this stand up a little bit straighter to make my wall thickness more even so it doesn't collapse my piece. So I'm just doing a little tiny pull at the neck, kind of angling my hands a bit more to the interior walls of my clay to make this a little bit taller. Okay, Check your profile again, see if you like it. I think I'm gonna kind of bubble this up a little bit, make sure my shoulder is nice and even, it doesn't have a hard angle. So it's a nice gradual transition from my shoulder into my neck. Okay. And then the last step is I'm just gonna take my lip and I'm just gonna lightly pinch and flare my lip out at the top. Just make sure to compress as you're flaring. All right, so now I can start to clean this up. I'll take my rubber rib. Always curving my rib as I do this. I'm just going to take off some of the slurry here. My clay was wet today. At this point, now that I just went around the body, I'm going to flip my rib to the rounded side. And I'm just going to press it along the neck to make it a bit more even. Okay. Using your finger or your wood tool, whichever you're more comfortable with. Make sure you clean up your base. You don't want to be trimming all that off later. Makes your life harder. And now this piece is ready to be taken off the wheel. So it's a nice even base. I have my foot that will be trimmed a bit later, moves up into my body. My shoulder is nice and even. I have a nice neck and then a flared lip that's not too wide, that's not wider than my body at this point.